ultimately good. And there's many different theories and opinions about this, but my opinion at least is that we came here to have an awakening experience. We came here to experience duality in the 3D plane, or the holographic illusion, and we came here to actually awaken and remember who we really are. And I think opening your third eye is a big part of that, because there are literally visual cones inside the pineal gland which would only be there if there was the ability to see things beyond what we consider real in this reality. Why would there be visual cones hidden in the middle of your body? I mean, that's usually where these visual cones are usually only found in your eyes. Well, they've actually discovered that there are visual cones inside your pineal gland. Why would they be there? If not for unlocking this extra sense, this extra ability to connect to something outside of what we consider to be physically real here in this reality. So there's a lot more that you can go into. It's an entire rabbit hole, really, about the pineal gland and how it connects to various different systems in the body. Connections that don't really make sense unless you consider the possibility that there is more to life than just this physical 3D dimension that we're aware of. So anyway, the benefits of opening your third eye is things like increased cognition, increased sense of self, higher vibrations. You'll lose your kind of fear of death or the fear of the unknown, and you'll really just get more intuition, more messaging, and ultimately just gut feeling intuition that things are going to be okay. And this might be unusual if you've never had this sense of intuition so much before, or if maybe you've experienced intuition but you've not really listened to it. When you open your third eye, you get so much more intuition. You just kind of know things without knowing how, and it's really kind of, at first it can be a bit unnerving, almost a bit scary, but ultimately it's beneficial, to be able to know things. And once you start to trust this sense, this intuition, you begin to trust it, and then it becomes stronger, and then suddenly you realize you know things without knowing how you know them. All right, so how can you open your third eye? This is for beginners, and so I'm just going to keep it very simple. I do have more training and more resources on this. I'll get onto that at the end. Okay, so step one, you really need to focus on meditation. I have spoken about meditation in other videos, but really just the idea and the concept of calming yourself, calming your mind and your thoughts, and becoming less engaged with the thought process and more like an observer. So it's almost like you're watching, and there's been different metaphors to describe this. You can imagine yourself standing on the ground, and then you're looking up at the clouds, and imagine that the clouds are your thoughts. So you're kind of watching them pass by. You're not really interacting with them. You're just looking at them without engaging with them. And then there's also descriptions and metaphors about meditation, which will describe you as kind of floating above the ground. And then the thoughts are like kind of little ants running around on the surface. There's different ways of doing it. Basically, they all seem to describe the same thing, which is detaching yourself, or what you consider yourself, your consciousness, your awareness, detaching that from your brain and your thoughts. Because ultimately the brain is not your consciousness. The brain is basically a tool, an organ in the body that can be programmed. It has various default mode networks. It has various software scripts essentially that it runs. And these things happen for any number of reasons. That's not really your consciousness. When you identify with your mind and your body, that's where we get into all kinds of problems, the Buddha, in mass collection of writings and teachings, he speaks about this quite often, that most of the source of misery and kind of discomfort and bad things, the source of bad experiences and bad feelings, tend to come from when you identify too much with your body and mind. When you identify so strongly with who you are supposed to be, like your ego, your title, your job, your possessions, even how you look. When you identify strongly with these things, if you lose some of that, then it can be very damaging and you can kind of panic and freak out. Whereas if you identify with your true consciousness, which is completely detached from the body, your true consciousness is interdimensional and kind of infinite and immortal. So when you identify with that, it really doesn't matter what happens to your body, to your possessions, or even to anything in your physical life, because you understand that that's not all there is.